Hello, hello. It's hump day. Hi, everyone. Let you guys come in. Outwoken Tea. Oh my gosh, I feel like that name is a story. I love it. I love it. Hello. Hello, everyone. Come in. I hope you have your wine. I'm being sophisticated today. Pinkies up, jam jar style. That's how we do it. Oh, thank you. Hi. Come on in. Sit down, fam. What's up, sis? Hey, lady. Come in. Come kick it with us. It is Wednesday, y'all. Again, we're back. Last week, we took a little hiatus because the world needed a hiatus. But this week, baby, this week, we got something good. We got some good stuff. And so we gonna get out here. We're gonna have our glass of wine. You can have your kombucha, whatever you got. If it's something hard or if it's something softer, it's all good. Come on in and do me a favor and invite some friends. Invite some friends. Yes, this has been a marathon day. I've been in meetings since 8 this morning. I want to go to sleep, but not yet. Not until we have our wine down. Then I'm gonna take me a hot bath. It's gonna be delightful. Okay, is it Dinah or Dina? Or is it like, damn, Dina? I don't know. I love that. Hey, our guest this week is here, Miss Angela. Let me let you in. You who are new to Wind Down Wednesday, this is Wind Down Wednesday. This is our time to connect over all things travel, kick it, take it down a notch after a stressful week. And if you've been staying in for COVID, the whole point of Wind Down Wednesday and the whole reason I started it was for us to have a space to get that exciting feeling that you get when you have your trip booked. You know, you and your friend are on the phone. This happened just the other day. Me and my girl Marcy, we were on the phone and we're like, we need to go to some beach resort. Okay, beach needs to happen. Then what else? Sleep and a massage? Yeah, massage needs to happen. Yes. And then you know what? We're going to go ahead and do some vision boards because you know what? Who cares what time of the year? You can always have a vision. And so it's just like, you know, that excitement that you get. We haven't even booked it yet and we're super excited. So that is, oh, Angela can't join. Let me see if we can get her in. I'm going to try to get her in again. So that is the whole point of Wind Down Wednesday. We're going to talk all things travel and adventure and fun. Hey, Angela, you made it.
Hi. Hello.
You're still coming in. Okay, there you are. Hi.
Hi.
Give your camera a little wipe.
Oh, wait.
We can see you a little bit better.
Am I still a little misty?
Hello. And for those of you who don't know me, my name's Orion Brown. I'm the founder and CEO of Black Travel Box. This is Wind Down Wednesday. We're about to kick it with my girl, Angela. I'm super excited. I'm so glad you were able to join. I love your Instagram. I love your brand. And I love travel, so we're going to have a great conversation.
Okay.
Hey, and we still see people coming in. Wait, what else we got here? Okay. You're good. Awesome. So we traditionally start this out with just some basic questions. So tell everybody, introduce yourself to everyone, your name, where you're from, where you currently live, and how many stamps do you have on your passport? Roughly. It doesn't have to be an accurate number.
Okay. So hi, everyone. My name is Angela. I'm British originally, as you can probably hear from the accent, from London. And no, you can't tell?
I can't tell. I don't know what you're talking about.
But I live out here in sunny Los Angeles. And I've been out here for a few years. What was the other question? How many stamps, or there was a question before that, right?
Yeah, no, how many stamps do you have? So you're from London, you're in LA, living that life.
Yes. And how many stamps do I have? Oh, that's my passport's just been renewed. So right now.
So you blew out the last one, basically.
Yes, I did travel a lot, but then also in Europe, when you're traveling, but they don't always stamp your passport when you're traveling in Europe as well. So I probably have oh gosh, I actually can't remember in my last passport how many, but I've traveled a little bit. I've been
Oh,
around a bit.
she said, I've been around the block, y'all. Y'all don't need to know the exact number. That's too personal. I love it. I love it. And tell us about, your interest and passion for travel. Like, what does travel do and mean for you? Obviously, you've taken quite a bit. And then living in Europe, it's a really different perspective as well, because
Yeah.
here we have to go for hours to get to a border for most places,
Yeah.
whereas you have so many borders around you and so much access. So what is sort of your travel ethos, and what does travel really mean to you?
I mean, first and foremost, it's like wherever you live, right, is your base, it's your home, it's just familiar, right? So then to step out into something new and experience something different in terms of culture, language, food, it just allows you to create, I don't know, for me, it's a contrast. It helps me to raise my level of consciousness about who I am and myself and what actually has gone into defining who I am in many ways. So even I lived in Italy for a little while. I speak no Italian, but you know.
Oh, we're gonna have to talk about that. This is interesting. This is juicy.
So that kind of thing, just when you're put into a completely different environment, and allowing yourself to really immerse yourself in that environment, then it really helps to give you that contrast and as well as experience. And then also for me, then that helps me to feel like I'm growing and expanding my awareness of the world and what drives us as humans in general, right? What unites us and what separates us in many different ways. And so it's interesting, like I've always thought I didn't speak a word of Italian, but there was more commonality, obviously being European, than there is as a Brit in America. So even though we speak language here, we don't speak the same language. In Italy, we don't speak the same language, but we kind of get each other a little bit more. So it's kind of like, it's interesting in those sense. And then you go off to like weird and exotic places where things are just completely different, right? In terms of their value system or their food or anything else. And it's just interesting, enlightening, and enriching in every single way. And then, living out in the US as well, my family's in the UK. So part of my travel is, of course, just going home and just getting back to London and then having that contrast of UK versus Los Angeles, which is two worlds apart as well. So
it's got multiple worlds in between. Multiple. Oh my gosh. And I love that. How long were you in Italy?
I left for 2 years.
That is a long time, and you don't speak Italian. I love it.
Challenging. They use a lot of hand gestures.
You know what? But that helps though, like, because then you can kind of like point, and it doesn't look weird. I love that. So you talked about like the impact of travel and sort of the impact of connecting with people and finding those connections, even if you're kind of worlds apart in terms of where you came from or what your language is or things like that. What were some surprising sort of aha moments when you were in Italy that you were like, I never thought I would connect with somebody on that?
I guess in Italy, it was different. There was, I guess, one of the things you connect to people there with is that kind of, I'm very family oriented and those kind of value systems. In terms of like Christianity as well, finding like the Christian community there as well. And I'm also vegan, so finding the vegan community there, and that kind of holistic wellness living sort of community there, which is still very, very niche in Italy because they're naturally healthy, but when you get into like holistic medicine or anything like that, it's kind of like it's still those sort of weirdos and hippies that do that.
It's still a little woo-woo.
Yeah, exactly. But being able to connect with people on those levels, and then I guess then also then other foreigners that are there experiencing the same sort of contrast with you as you in many ways. So there, you like a lot of my friends were American, living in Italy as well, so we all had the same sort of experience. So we formed a bond in that way because we can all speak English compared to the sort of Italian lifestyle.
And I love that. I never would have thought that, finding things like, a place of worship that aligns to the way in which you worship, or finding, I don't even want to call it niche. Well, I mean, in the States, it's not niche to be vegan, but certainly with all the osso buco that I've had, I'm surprised that there's that in Italy. That's really cool. And like, how were you able to find those? Like, what was your way in? Did you just kind of stumble upon those communities, or did you go looking for them, or did someone bring you in?
A lot of research, yeah, no, definitely a lot of research. But you know, there's been a trend for veganism everywhere, I guess. So there was
Yeah.
new like trendy restaurants opening up that were vegan, or at least having vegan offerings and things like that. And it wasn't necessarily that everybody that went there was vegan. It was more the trend of stopping in and going to this new restaurant. So yeah, and then a lot of research just to discover what's happening and what kind of, you know, these were, like I said, fringe things that were happening in terms of like
Y'all out here eating vegetables and stuff? Oh my goodness.
exactly. And I'm gluten free as well. So like imagine in Italy all they eat is pasta and bread. So it's like trying to find the gluten free, the vegan. It's like, okay.
It's hard.
I just
It's
got
hard.
all the niche things there.
Oh my gosh. I was in Spain a few times, and I realized that people did not understand what a tree nut allergy was. So I'm like, I can't have almonds, I can't have walnuts. You know, I started going through the list in Spanish just to try to, and they were like, but I don't understand. So you can't eat it? Like, no, it's fine. You can still eat it. We just crush some up in there. You won't taste it. It's like, no, 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 I can't. It will EpiPen. So I definitely can understand, especially like when you're trying to get really, I don't want to say bougie concepts, but they're somewhat bougie for America. But we also have a lot of, I don't know, we have a lot of pollution and other things that make people allergic to everything. But like, you know, these concepts can sometimes be a little bit of a challenge.
Yeah,
One thing I've heard, and we've talked about on this show, I don't know what we call it, a show, this live before, is the idea of like sort of the adoring eyes of men in Italy for women of color. Was that something that you experienced? Was it nuisanceful? Was it fun? Or did you not even notice?
it's interesting. So
Ooh.
I'd visited Italy a lot before living there for 2 years, and so when you're sort of in and out, you just get men obviously going, "I love you" on the street. Like generally, it's just like, and that's just normal. When you're living there, it's a little bit different because you sort of start to realize the real ins and outs of Black women's life in Italy. A lot of it's still like Italy itself is still very much a monoculture, right? And then there's these few immigrant communities that are still kind of marginalized. There's a very strong West African presence where I'm from, so Nigerian people there. However, a lot of them have been brought over through sex trafficking, and so a lot of them are in the prostitution game.
Mm.
So you would often be mistaken for a prostitute. Just doing your everyday life things, it's just a little weird. You know, just
You're at the farmer's market and they're like, hey, how much for the melons? And you're like, what? What do you mean? I don't mean to make light of it, but also it's kind of funny. Just a little bit.
You know, at least I always found the humor in it, and I understand like why they think that, because they haven't really experienced, you know, just a Black woman just normal in life. It's not the normal thing. Of course, there's people visiting and coming in and out, but living there and doing normal things, and just like someone around in the morning, you know, I'm innocently standing on a street corner and you'll have a guy sort of signaling to get into his car kind of thing. You're just like, I'm trying to go to work.
And see, I'd be dumb enough to think that was an Uber. So I need to be careful. Clearly, note to self, be careful.
Yeah, exactly. But then it's a sad fact, you know, and then when you see, you know, the majority of Black women that are living there, or not, yeah, but I say the majority, a lot of them that are living there, and you're seeing, you know, the women of the night, as they call them, and that's the time when you're seeing a lot of like Nigerians and Black women out there, and so you get, okay, they've made this equation, obviously, Black women prostitutes. So anytime there's a Black woman, she must be a prostitute, right? So that was the kind of definitely one thing that would make me be very hesitant to live there permanently. Even if I can cope with it, I would never want to have kids there, or, you know what I mean? It would be very more difficult for certain people to be able to experience that kind of lack of sort of mixed culture, especially coming from London, where you're just like, everybody's so mixed, right? It's just, and even here, but London especially is so multicultural.
I have definitely heard that. I haven't been to London yet. It's on my list. But tell us a little bit more about what the multicultural vibe is there and what that really translates to sort of on a day-to-day basis.
I mean, I think it's like you don't even think about it when you're there, right? Because it's obviously, first of all, London, and we're speaking London, not necessarily England as a whole, but London
Yeah.
specifically. It's quite small, so everybody's on top of each other. Everybody's you cross paths with so many different people. Your neighbors will always be so many different people. You don't really have like secluded communities. You maybe have like an Orthodox Jew community that keep themselves, but then that still gets immersed in with everybody else at the same time. It's really impossible to sort of keep yourself to yourself. Whereas like compared to the US, where it really is like this is the Hispanic neighborhood and this is the Black neighborhood and this is and that's kind of weird here. But in London, it's just not possible because it's just not enough space.
Really?
Um,
Wow.
so generally, you're just always crossing paths with somebody of a different culture and race, whether it be, the shop that you're in or where you're working. There's always a mix, and there's obviously such a high population of immigrants and a long history of different races being in and out of London from India or from Africa in the West Indies. So you're just automatically immersed in that kind of from food, from people, from everything. So
Food.
it's yes, food.
So was it a culture shock moving to LA?
A little bit, because London's more similar to New York, and you can get some of that similar vibe in New York, where everybody sort of is just a complete mixed bag. And then LA is like, because everything is spaced out, you do see that, even if it's got a lot of diversity in culture, but everybody doesn't really necessarily mix together in terms of their culture. So that was kind of interesting.
That is, I stayed in LA just for a summer once, and I go back and forth. I used to go back all the time. And I just found that it was, I don't necessarily know that it was like culturally aligned, but it was definitely a little bit more cliquish. Mm-hmm. So it's like you already live 45 minutes away, even though I could probably walk it faster. And then I have to take the 405 to get to you. But not only that, it's just sort of people live kind of in their own circles. And so it really is kind of hard to get that flavor for the variety that's out there. I remember having a conversation with someone and they were like, no, LA is like the most diverse place. And I'm like, but where do you find people? I just want to find people. So I could definitely see that being a challenge.
Yeah, I made that mistake of trying to find people when I came here, and I decided, okay, it's fine. Just the people that know that it's okay.
Like it's me, myself, and I. That's three people right there.
Circle, find the spots, because otherwise you just like you start getting into that where that it feels like there's something lacking when you're looking for people. Like I came here expecting to find New York in many ways, because it's another major city in the world, right? But it just was like, oh, okay, so no. So now enjoy the beach, find your beach community, find your, whatever West Hollywood community, and, do it like that. I mean, I make an effort to go out to different communities myself because I find it interesting because I'm a foreigner, I guess. So like the 405 doesn't scare me. But
I love it. I love it.
But yeah, it does take some effort for sure.
Oh, wow. And what brought you to LA?
I was working with a company that had an office out here, and they offered me a job that allowed me to transfer. Yeah,
that's awesome. I mean, and it's nice when you get a transfer to a place that's warm and sunny and beautiful.
It was kind of like a done deal, right? It's like London, rainy, grey, and then LA. Yeah, sure. I think I'll give that a try. Right?
Sunshine and all the vegan food you could want, right?
Exactly.
I love that. So you said that you've done some traveling. You've got some traveling under your belt. You've got roots in Africa. You've got experience in Europe and in Eastern Europe, or the Mediterranean. Where are some places that you feel like you're particularly proud to say that you've been to?
That I'm proud to say I've been to.
Like, yeah, I did that. I was there. Yeah.
I don't know. Proud sounds a funny word to me, but I guess I really enjoyed South Korea and Japan. Those kind of areas, because I guess that was kind of quite different. I guess that probably South Korea is probably one, because it was also a really nice surprise because I didn't know what to expect of it at all. I was really looking forward to Japan, And I had all this concepts in my head about what Japan was going to be like, but I had nothing in my head about what Korea was going to be like. So it was like really sort of amazing to sort of be there and see this sort of really modern Asian culture that was still very young and fresh, with like cool little coffee shops and lots and lots. I was there for beauty stuff as well, so lots and lots of beauty and makeup. So that was like a nice surprise, and it's always and I managed to learn like 10 Korean words. Don't ask me now, I've forgotten them. But
wait, you were in Italy for how long? But you picked that Korean up real quick, huh? It's not an easy language either.
No, it's really hard. It's really hard.
That is so funny. And so let's talk about the beauty scene, because I am really fascinated with the whole Korean beauty culture that's come over to the States, and how that translates for women of color, and especially women with rich, deep, beautiful brown skin. Like, how did you kind of interact with beauty culture there? How did beauty culture interact with you? And, what are some gems that you took away?
I guess when it comes to complexion, I just, let's just put that to the side for a moment, because they're not familiar with working with, such complexions, and they don't, they know their market. They pretty much can sell one shade and everybody wants to wear the same shade anyway. No, in fact, it was like there's one tone that they all aspire to be, and they can get away with that. It's totally fine. But I was there mainly just like sourcing, looking at technology and like different ways that they formulate new and innovative formulas, because they have like just unique ingredients that they use in their formulas, unique textures, and they've been really driving and pushing the beauty industry a lot in the past few years in terms of K-beauty. And so it was really interesting just doing a lot of shopping there in general. Brow products are great. A lot of lip products are amazing, but they don't necessarily like the same things that we might like here, in terms of like, they're not like full on matte lipsticks or matte liquid lipstick types of brand. They're more like tints and dyes and that kind of like sheer sort of washes of color, which translate to everybody, but they also like particular shades like pink and peach and those kind of things as well. So a lot of the time from a color perspective it doesn't relate, but from a textural perspective and from a technology, they always have something interesting ingredients as well.
And that's really interesting. And well, I want you to tell everybody what you do and why you're so much into the beauty scene there. But I do have one question, because I think about Tokyo, and I think about the neighborhoods, and I think about the differences in culture and how people express themselves. And there are places that are a bit more colorful and a bit more drawing outside of the lines. Did you see anything that sort of catered to that, or are they still progressing to getting to a more, I guess, broader definition of beauty there?
When I was there, when was that? It was maybe a couple of years ago. So they were still definitely progressing. I don't know how much progress has since been made. I mean, again, it is a monoculture. They are, they don't necessarily have a lot, a huge population of people of my skin tone there yet. So I think there's still some work to do in terms of embracing different forms of beauty for sure. But I think I guess when people travel more again, I think the future, I can expect that it's an inevitable change, right, as cultures and people open up more and more, right?
Yeah, definitely. And I'm thinking, sorry, I was thinking Tokyo, but I think it's the same thing. And just like sort of looking at places like, what is it, Gangnam, that's like just south of the city. Yeah. And you're just like, this is a very different vibe than like what I would almost call Korean hipster, which I would almost say it was like a little bit more northern. Yeah. And just that idea that there's definitely variety in a small population.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is kind of
I didn't find the variety in Japan so much. Maybe I wasn't there long enough, or I didn't know where to explore. Maybe I did the too touristy stuff, so I didn't get to like really get into it and get into something different and unique there.
I mean, so the things that really stick out to me, and I'm going to forget the names of the neighborhoods, so I'm not even going to try. But I feel like Tokyo was the wildest place, right? Where you could go very luxe, very upscale, very see and be seen, Rodeo Drive feel, with the people and the stores and the places and the restaurants and all of that. And then you could go to places where you're like, that's a shady club. like Shady Inn, like that person has half of their head shaved and it's in like 4 different colors. And that girl is wearing the chunkiest Mary Janes that I've ever seen. And just kind of, you're like, there's a really funky space. And then there's just sort of, I would say normal people, but just like people who are, you know, just ordinary, living their lives. And these neighborhoods intersect in weird ways. And it's just, you know, to me, you know, going to places like Robot Bar, I think there's entire neighborhoods that feel like Robot Bar to me. But yeah, it's interesting. I didn't really, the one thing that did strike me was the focus on fairness. You know, but the flip side to it was I did thoroughly enjoy seeing all ethnic people on all of the advertising. Like it warmed my heart, even though they didn't look like me. I was like, they don't look like them either. So I really love everybody, but it was refreshing to see. So tell everybody about your brand and your business and, you know, what part of that has been a part of your travels. I mean, obviously Korea, I'm sure that was a write-off, but.
Yeah, definitely. So yes, I'm in the beauty world, beauty product development world. I last year started my own company called Salt and Earth Labs. So we develop brands for people. So we don't necessarily have our own, like Salt and Earth is not a brand in itself in terms of products, but we work on clean beauty, skincare, hair care, body care with different people to help them bring their brands and vision to life. In fact, we have one in-house brand, which is a CBD body care brand called Raw Edge, which was developed with comedian Donnell Rawlings. So Ashley Larry has a body lotion which we developed.
I love that. That is so genius. And how did I not know this?
It's fairly new. We had it for a couple of months now.
Okay. It's really new. It's really new. Ashley Larry, not Ashley anymore. He's just Larry now.
Yeah, exactly.
Look at us growing up.
And then we have quite a few more products and brands and everything that we're collaborating with at the moment. So new stuff coming out 21. Sorry, we're 21 now.
That's yeah. Well, 2020 was 10 years long, so I can see getting that mixed up. So as you look out on the horizon for future trips and future business, do you see yourself traveling more along with your business outside of the country, in the country, and what does that sort of look like for you as an entrepreneur as opposed to a cushy corporate business traveler?
That's true, exactly. That's the backpacker time now. It's like,
girl, right there, all that.
Every penny that you're spending rather than having the company gold card.
Like, I'll take that $9 banana. Yep, I will. Go ahead. Give it to me.
Exactly. Airbnbs rather than 5-star hotels. Yep. But I think one thing I definitely want to do is do more US. Like there's a whole world in the US that I don't know about, and I don't know if I want to know about it, but I feel like I should. You know, it's kind of like I've gone to New York, I've gone to LA, right? I've been to Texas a little bit, but you know, just for a short stint. But there's a whole world in between and in the South and everything else that, you know, it'd be interesting to explore that. And then South America, where I haven't even gone to Mexico, and I'm in California, which is really bad.
I mean, you know, I haven't been to Canada yet, which is kind of bad, and I've lived in North America the entirety of my existence.
But I guess, I mean, I love Canada, so no disrespect to Canada, but I guess it's like,
but it's not as compelling as a beach in Mexico.
There's some definite reasons to go to Mexico, and I think I've had trips that I've wanted to, but I've just never really sort of gotten round to going there, particularly, I guess, because it's so close. You're just like, I'll just do that.
It's like the store around the corner. You're like, no, I like the Target up the road better. It's like, just go to the corner store.
So that's something I definitely want to try to do more, is South America and within America too.
Oh my gosh, South America is on my list because I have committed now. I've committed, I think I have, to going to Antarctica next year.
Oh.
And so with that, I'm like, I'm not going to waste a bajillion-mile trip. I'm stopping on the way. So I'm definitely going to hit South America if for nothing else, you have to have that layover just at the tip before you head out to Antarctica. But that's awesome. I mean, so
Why
have you,
Antarctica?
what's that?
Why Antarctica?
Well, one, a good friend of mine who's actually been, on our live before, she does trips and she was like, I'm setting up this trip to Antarctica. It's on that bucket list. And I was like, well, I'm turning 40 next year. So you might as well get it in.
Yeah.
Yeah, might as well get it in. So I'm really excited for that. I'm already packing my thermals in my head, but but it should be really cool. And I think, it goes kind of back to that question of places that you're like proud to have been to. Like, I think I feel proud that I've even planned to go on this trip. Like, okay, I'm not going to punk out. It's really dope. Not a lot of people have stepped there. There's vacationers there, but not a lot of people can say they stepped on that continent. And so it's outside of my comfort zone in a different way. Like, it's more extreme. People, as long as there's food involved, I'm fine with. But like elements, like, this is a different thing. So
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like I feel cold just hearing about it, but I think now that you're mentally prepared for it, right? Like you said, you can have your thermals, then you won't get shocked, and then you'll be fine.
exactly. And when you travel to Middle America, go in the summer.
Okay, good tip.
If you go in the Midwest, I'm from Chicago originally. Go in the summer. It's beautiful. There's plenty of places to brunch. You can do rooftops and all kinds of stuff. It's a beautiful city. Do not go there the first time in the wintertime. You will never go back. I would probably say the same thing for the Twin Cities, which are getting a little flack right now, but Minneapolis and St. Paul, really beautiful during the summertime. A whole nother Antarctic thing during the winter. So
Right. Okay, that's good to know. I made that mistake with New York once, going in like February, and I was like, I didn't realize that it could get that cold, so it was a surprise, which was the worst thing. So if I had known, I thought, how cold can it get? England gets cold, right?
Oh, it can get that cold. Yeah. And I would argue, if you spent more time in Manhattan or any of the more tightly, high-rise boroughs, you don't get half the cold because the buildings block it.
Oh,
but
right.
man, you get out into like Long Island, and whew,
Oh, so it gets colder than that, because I was in
yeah,
that,
because you can feel it. There's nothing to stop the cold.
That was enough cold for me. I don't need to go.
Okay, so yeah, I would say stick to the summer. I love that. So what kind of traveler are you? Are you primarily a business traveler? Are you primarily a historian? Do you love to take in the sights? Are you a foodie? Are you an adventurer? Like, what's kind of your travel style?
A lot of my travel has been business, because it's just taken me out there, and I've just like used that as the leverage to go to a next place.
Ain't nothing wrong with that, girl. See, this is people. That's a gem right there. That's called a gem. Let your company send you somewhere, and then you take that extra layover and go kick it somewhere else.
Exactly. Definitely into. I like to do some of the tourist stuff for sure, the history, and just get into that. But the more time you can spend there and really sort of try and, again, immerse yourself in the culture, so it's not like you're just in this sort of tourist bubble, because then it doesn't really feel like you're getting the realness. So if you're there, any place that you're there long enough to really go in and stay in the community, stay with people, and actually find out, that's definitely what I prefer. I haven't done like sort of much adventure holidays, or like skiing, or like risk taking, or like high swings off of cliffs and stuff like that.
Yeah, we don't do that. We don't do that stuff. Okay, we do that. I'm not going to perpetuate a stereotype, but I don't do that. I don't do that.
I don't see these things on Instagram and just kind of like, I don't know, that looks kind of cool.
Yeah, I start to sweat. Like, if it's something really high and they're jumping off of it, I'm like, oh Lord, oh gosh, this looks really intense. But I think, oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say those like, I would like to do more of that kind of like travel for sure. Spending more time immersed in different communities and in places that are really different and challenging. So I wouldn't say I have one style. I really like to go in and see what you can experience. I regret not going to Thailand. Again, one of those things that's been on my list, and I have a friend who lives out there, and I was just like, the year before last, I think I was kind of like, I'm gonna go, and I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna go home to London for now. I am, and you know, here you don't get that much vacation time anyway, so it's kind of like,
Yeah.
I want to go and see my family, and then it's like, now 2020, you're just like, damn it, I should have gone.
But now you're a baller, shot caller, with your own company. You're out here making other people's dreams come true. So I'm feeling like as long as you got some good Wi-Fi,
Can kind of, yeah, I guess so.
you can make it happen.
It's just a question of time now, because there's no time off.
Well, you know what though? That's why you take your computer. So I'm sure, I don't know if are you a chemist by trade? Like, do you do the bench work?
I don't do the bench work so much anymore, but I work very closely in the lab, so I can do it remotely, I guess, to some extent. It's kind
You
of
can supervise
less
remotely.
less effective, because you kind of have to like rely on people responding to you rather than being in there.
But you know what? The beautiful thing is that it allows you a good reason to develop leadership in others,
Mm-hmm.
and then you can write off the trip again because you'll be doing work while you're there. It's a work trip. It's a business trip.
I like the way you think.
Look, y'all, that's another gem. When you own your business, you need to be doing business you're going to do business anyway. Like, you can't help it. You're going to be checking stuff. You're going to be working on stuff. Like, don't just check your email once and then be like, I'm writing off this whole trip. But there actually are some really interesting ways to kind of view your business, view your customer, view what it is that you do every day through the lens of other cultures. And so that can be a really nice palate cleanser, even. Definitely. Just if you've been working hard on the grind.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, one thing I definitely want to do is get back to Nigeria. And I want to source ingredients from there. I want to just like get really into the weeds of like I have family that live in the very rural parts, so they're not going to any hospital, they're not going to any Sephora or any beauty store to do stuff. They got their stuff right there growing in the bushes, right? So I just want to collect more of that knowledge and information from my own sort of ancestors and family that are out there. So that's intended for this year, the end of this year as well, to get to Nigeria.
Oh, I love that. And I think there's such a boom in brands recognizing sort of I take that back. Everybody's known how rich the African continent is. That's why it's in the situation that it's in many places, right? Because people realize the land is so rich. The people and the traditions are so rich. And there's something really nice about having a brand or a business that is not only inspired by a place, but it's artistically articulated by someone who actually has a connection to it, as opposed to, oh, this is African shea butter, and it's like, have you ever been to Africa? Oh gosh, no. Like, I think there's something really lovely about that, having those roots there and being able to translate those rural knowledge points from family and have love attached to that.
Yeah, no, definitely. And there's more than shea butter as well. They have all the butters, they have all the nuts, they have all the oils, they have all the herbs and the plants and things that they don't even realize the value of. I think sometimes you're just like, I always used to probe my mom and dad and be like, what did you use? And they're like, probably used to get some plant and just do that, and it would heal you, and you'd be like, what was it? What was the name?
This is when you get on Google and start showing them pictures of it. Like, was this the plant? Was this the plant? Was this the plant?
They just take it for granted because it's just totally normal, right?
Oh yeah.
But they don't realize the value of the things in their land sometimes because it's just there. So I think that's been part of the problem for sure.
I love that though. I love that exploration that can happen there. Because there's so much richness, and there's so much culture, and there's so much stuff that we, at least in the States, we've over-engineered that just doesn't need to be. There's safety. Okay, I got you. But then, like, we don't necessarily have to go beyond an extract to really, get some of the benefits that we're looking from in some crazy ingredients that are out there.
I mean, I was going to say, like, with some of the ingredients, even like in my field, when I noticed that there's some ingredients that are, derived from Africa, but they're not using it in the marketing of the ingredient. And you think, why is that? It's kind of like, it's just like, oh, it just so happens to be from Africa. Whereas if it was from some, exotic island that we know as for travel, they would be using that as their marketing. And it's kind of like, no, but that is strong marketing that this is grown in Africa. The only time they like to use the marketing is if it's helping a community sort of
Girl, I hate that so much.
Exactly. So it's just kind of like, this speaks to exactly like the mentality that people have towards the African continent. It's just the poverty first rather than the luxury of the earth that is literally growing from the earth from it. It's a little twisted.
And it's absolutely gorgeous. I was, I always tell people one of the biggest surprises to me was going to Kenya and seeing the beach, like the coast. I was like, nobody tells us that it looks like this. Nobody tells us how gorgeous it is. And Black bodies all over a beach. I mean, hey, like that's just something beautiful about that we don't necessarily get to see here very often. And it is, just so beautiful and so lush in so many different places that I can't imagine. I think you hit the nail on the head with marketing and like how people think about not only Africa, but Black communities. Certainly with Black Travel Box, my company, I've definitely had the conversation with people where they're like, oh, are you going to go to an underprivileged neighborhood and then like award some kids, the opportunity to travel somewhere because they'll never get to go anywhere otherwise? And I'm like, why do you presume? Why would you presume that? I don't think that even fits in line with the brand and the ethos and what it is that I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
With this idea of, oh, but you should mentor some young girls and take them on a trip so they can discover the world. I bet their mama could pay for that. I mean, we're a broader diaspora than the few things that you see on television.
Exactly.
I really love that you're bringing that realness to it. Tell us a little bit more about how you think about that in your formulation and your work with clients. Like, how do you bring like your global perspective in? Are people receptive to it automatically? Or do you have to be like, by the way, that butter is really good and it's from here, and you can, do you have to nudge them and kind of give them that sense of this is a unique positioning that you can use?
I think, but mainly that's more because I guess people like what they know. And people, when somebody's looking to start a brand, they're not necessarily aware that there's some extraordinary different sort of murmur butter or some gongo butter.
Kupu all day. What? Yeah.
So people, essentially will be like, okay, if they want to have something like a shea butter or vitamin C or something that's very sort of standard overall. So it's more that kind of education of like, how about pushing the boundaries and trying something that people may not have heard of, or mix it with something that people have heard of to sort of come up with something unique and different. So yeah, it's more that, not necessarily, because people don't want something from a different country or I think they're just not aware. Like I said, it's more like where those ingredients are from. Places like Africa, they're not using it in the marketing, so nobody's marketing their brand that it's made in this, from this ingredient that's from Africa or whatever. Nobody's making that their marketing story. They might make it Brazilian, or they might make it, Amazon rainforest and blah blah blah, but they're not necessarily French, exactly, French Alps, or but they're not. Nobody's going, all these ingredients from Africa, or I could do an African story. There are some now, like a 28 thrones, 54,
yeah,
54,
52 thrones,
50 how many?
54 thrones. 54? I think it's 54. There's a lot of thrones. There's some thrones in the house.
Yes, like she does a great job of like bringing the different stories and different ingredients from different places, along with shea butter as well. So
I love that. And that's an awesome brand. If you guys haven't heard of it, 54 Thrones. I think we got the right number. But these luxurious butters, and no hate from me. I mean, we have a body balm that's got things like shea butter and murmur butter in it, but there's room for all of us. And I love the different expressions of bringing these things to market, and seeing how we can create healthier products in unique ways. I mean, you mentioned the murmur butter. I mentioned the kupuaku, like kokum butter, like not cocoa, but kokum is a great way to get a harder product or get to a product texture that you're looking for without adding something synthetic that you may or may not, necessarily want or understand, kind of how it works.
Exactly.
And so there's just so much opportunity to make cleaner ingredients that appeal to not only our community, but everybody.
Yeah. The,
You know,
the
we
clean,
lead everything.
it's definitely a movement. Like everybody wants the cleaner, better, healthier ingredients. Like and people genuinely just like things that are coming from the earth more than things that have been constructed by somebody in a lab somewhere. It just speaks to the like an affinity with the way our bodies and skin and things naturally work. So that's definitely the starting point when it comes to formulating for me.
I love it. I love it. And so this is my last formulation question, because I could talk to you about formulation all day. I love ingredients and stuff, but you are an expert, right? You're behind the scenes, you're mixing stuff. What does like healthy skincare and healthy hair care mean to you? Is that without certain ingredients? Is it the way that it's prepared? Is it safe synthetics or is it no synthetics? Like, what really kind of means healthy for you?
I mean, I prefer to start from nature. That's kind of my ethos in life when it comes to food, skin, hair. Like what you can extract from the earth naturally is the starting point. Now, for sure, when it comes to certain things like makeup, it's very hard to just take that from the earth, right? There's certain texture on
berries on your lips. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard.
You kind of have to go a little bit beyond that. In which case you're definitely going to be going along the sort of safe synthetic sort of route, which is essentially ingredients that they're not going to do any harm in the environment. They are not doing harm in the environment to manufacture as much as possible as well. And they tend to be more inert, so they're not doing anything to be super reactive on the skin. They're there maybe just for aesthetics. And so people, silicones, for example, is an example of that can be considered to be efficient to make. Whether the environmental impact of them is debatable, and they're there for that kind of sensorial impact. If I can avoid using a silicone, for sure I will. But that will be, I would consider that to be like a safe synthetic. There's a lot of ingredients that have been used traditionally that are super effective, like parabens and petroleums and things like that, and they work, but they're not great for you. They're not great for the environment. So there's always a debate with chemists. It's like, but parabens are the best preservatives, but it's like, yeah, they work, they preserve, but are they great on the long term? Are they great in terms of production? Are they great for our environment? Are they great for the human body? Not much. So, I try.
They're just out there preserving themselves and not preserving the rest of us, basically.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, people think very short-sighted about ingredients. That's one of the things as well. So even when it comes to naturals, it's like you also do have to think about where you're extracting it from, right? That you're not ruining the environment that you're taking it from, that you're not raping the earth or raping a community of some resources in order to get whatever it is you need to put on your fancy luxury skin balm. You also then have to make sure that, you might be talking about an ingredient that on its own in their product is safe, but then, the processing that went into making that had to use a bunch of carcinogens. And where did that material go once that was made? Inevitably it gets into the water system, and then inevitably it gets into the environment in some shape or form. So, the minimal processing that you can have, I think you're doing a better job for yourself and for the environment as much as possible. And like I said, there's going to be exceptions to that rule. But if you start from that premise that the earth has provided, then you will start to sort of use that as your sort of guidance, your tool when you're choosing other ingredients to add into any formula as well.
Ooh, I like that. I like that. That is such a good note to sort of close out on, as we all think about the stuff that we take with us when we travel, Black Travel Box, but also the things that we're wearing daily as we start to get back into the world and getting back into a routine of putting things on and adorning ourselves with different, makeup and cosmetics and hair care and skincare. Trying to get as close to nature as we can is a great rule of thumb, and you don't have to fight over one ingredient or another to do that pretty easily. You can go into a Sephora and ask them for something that's pretty close to nature. What's the closest thing to a tree you got? And they can at least point you to that without having an argument over parabens, as you say. So I love that. I thank you so much for sharing your perspective. One of the things I really, really love to do is have people on, particularly that are non-US born folks, because you have such an interesting perspective as to like how the dynamics work around the globe. And I think that that's a great way for us to also get, you know, some good education on how to come in really open-minded. So, you know, as well as how to add some context. You know, we talked about Italy. Somebody said, I didn't hear that before. Oh my God. And so it's always lovely to have that. If you ever need some tips on where to go in the States, you know who to call. Everybody that's been watching, and y'all have been in the comments, honestly, today I can't half see. Like, I'm so sleepy. So I saw comments about, oh, ooh, polishes. Oh, her polishes, it's called ooh polishes, but then I was also saying ooh. Polishes named after African nations and pre-colonial kingdoms. That is really, really dope. So there's been so much chatter. I apologize, y'all. I haven't been hitting up the comments today, but I really love you guys for showing up. I hope you had a good time. I hope you had a few sips of wine, because I certainly did. And Angela, let everybody know where they can find you. And if they're thinking about a brand, or even just thinking about figuring out what brands you are supporting so that they can support.
So yeah, I mean, I'm on Instagram, Salt and Earth Lab. No, sorry, we are Salt and Earth on Instagram. On LinkedIn, Angela Umelo. Or you can check out our brand, Raw Edge Body Care, on Instagram as well.
Love it, love it. Thank you so much for joining. This was so fun. I love it.
Yeah.
If I make it to South America, I'll tell you. I'll ping you and say, hey, maybe you need to come through. You may not come to Antarctica, but you totally should come through to South
I would
America.
try Antarctica. Maybe I've got a lot of prepping to do, like mentally, to go to that cold.
That's what the big puffy coats are for. It'll keep you nice and warm, and just your nose will be cold. It'll be fine.
Do they have vegan food there? I don't know.
I mean, I would imagine. Oh, I don't know. I guess nothing would grow there. You would just.
No.
Can you go pescatarian for a week? I don't know. If nothing else, we know the salmon there is not contaminated. There's no mercury. It's all fresh.
Okay, all right. So I'll have to be pescatarian or something there, I guess. I'm gonna eat ice all the way.
Well, you know what? The good thing is you could bring your own veggies, and then you could just like kind of hang them out the window on the boat, because it'll be cold enough to keep them crisp.
There you
be
go.
The crispest carrot you've ever had.
Smart thinking. That's smart.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much for joining. This was super fun. I hope you come back again. This was great chatting with you.
Nice to talk to you as well. Bye-bye.
And everyone else, good night. Thank you so much. I hope you guys have a wonderful week, and another glass of wine at some point. There's a lot to celebrate, even though there's a lot that has been challenging. But hopefully this brought you a little sunshine this week. So everybody have a good one. Take care.
Bye.